thank you very much for watching our show everywhere in the Pittsburgh area, including the city of Pittsburgh on Verizon 32, and then only on Comcast 7 in Bethel Park. Thanks everybody here for watching. I get a lot of great feedback when we're out there. I have new business cards explaining on the back where we're at. You can also find us on YouTube. So thanks for checking out those shows. And Zach, I didn't notice a blip in there, but we sort of held steady on the amount of views. So whatever level it's at, it's sort of staying at that lower level. Thanks again for pumping us up on Pittsburgh Sportsline on Facebook. We hit our new high, 4470. Appreciate that. So Jim Audet, it's a new high. And we got Devin Shea in the control room and whoever else is in for the pizza tonight.
Is Carl back?
Yeah, Carl's there. He didn't even know we had pizza. Thanks to Olive Oil's Pizzeria. My man Stan the Man is there.
Delicious.
He tossed all that pepperoni on there and said,
cheese.
Al, you just can't have the pepperoni. Spread it around. So thank you very much. Extra cheese. It was delicious. Call them right now. Order a pizza just like ours, 412-831-1900. Thank you for that. We always give a little special shout out for Skeets, our big sponsor on Monday night's show. You can see that. Everybody knows about him. Call 724-348-4715. When you need your car fixed, I'll give you a little insight. Go on Monday. They have Bethel Bakery donuts, and they have so much food. They fed me 2 weeks ago, Smoking Jim, and I couldn't eat till that evening. So check them out. We have a special designer bag bingo, $25 for 10 tickets. A lot of popularity. Go to EV Hardware, get the tickets. Go to the library. Call Dave Cable, 412-831-3304. Devin Shea's trying to get on camera. We're not going to let him. Thanks for the time, Check. I'm glad we started the show. EV Hardware donated this Weber grill, stainless steel grill. We have plenty of tickets, $1 a ticket. They're going to do that on the council meeting in June, and it'll be a live drawing. People are buying them like crazy. Whenever you see me, I'll give you a ticket for $1, no problem. And Chip, that special that you got, 10 tickets for $10, it's still available. So keep on buying.
Keep on buying them, you know.
Even though Chip got the winner, we didn't tell him, but those first batch of tickets, I gave him the John the Tiger Kiger, and I don't know what he did with them. And mine are in on them. All right, enough about that.
Well, the grill will go to a good cause.
Oh, definitely. As I said, I'm Al Levine, the Talking Machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner. We got Smoking Jim Frazier and Zach Brenner. And we had everybody here on time before the show started. We also had a special guest who we just set him up for coming up to a new venue that we're going to be in, the Royal Place on 88. Judge Ron Arnone is going to be our guest on our show. We've been talking about it for about 6-7 months. He'll be out there on May 4th. Check it out after 7:30. Come to the Royal Place. We'll be doing a new show there every other Monday for the next couple months. So check that out. Now, we always start with what's on our mind, and we're going to do that now. Zach Brenner, what's on your mind?
Well, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. What
Well.
did we have last night at Console Energy Center? Where are the shooters? Where are the goals? Where is the defense? They all look like fools. That's what's going down over at Console Energy with none other than the Pittsburgh Penguins. If it wasn't for number 29, Marc-Andre Fleury, who I've been harping on all year to you folks, that he's the MVP, that he's the best player on the team, we would have got blown out last night. 5 or 6 goals would have been given up if number 29 wasn't in goal last night. I've never seen a Penguin team in the last 10 years that is so unphysical and so undisciplined. It's amazing to me. I truly believe that the coach that they brought in was the wrong coach. The general manager that they brought in was the wrong GM, and you're seeing it on the ice. You know what? I have a hard time understanding how you can come down on the goalie when you have 2 of the top 5 best players in the world, and you sure could have fooled me. Only Sid the Kid and Fleury look like the only 2 people on the team right now with any kind of heart that even care whether the Penguins advance or lose. So, in my opinion, the Penguins are done. stick a fork in them, they're probably going to lose this series 4-1. And I don't see Malkin and Crosby reuniting in the offseason. I think it's time to dump the Russian. He takes too many games off. He makes too many mistakes, in my opinion, and he's undisciplined. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's what's on my mind tonight, folks. Number 29.
Thanks, Zach Brenner. Appreciate your what's on your mind. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green, you got to see Levine. Ooh, good catch, good catch. Straight hands, man.
Bad miss.
What's on my mind is I'm a little bit sad. A Pittsburgh Steelers player that I hold in highest regards, love the kid, but I'm very disappointed in Antonio Brown. The Pittsburgh Steelers have always been cheap. The Rooneys have always been cheap in negotiating. But four guys that they really went over and above on a contract was Jack Lambert, Barry Foster, Big Ben Roethlisberger, and AB, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown was a 6th-round draft pick. And after 2 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers tore up his contract, which something they've never done before in the history of their organization. And they signed him to a $43 million deal. He still has 3 years and $23 million left on that deal, which is about $8 million per season. And that's an awful lot of money for a wide receiver. Most receivers don't get that kind of consideration because they only touch the football 3 to 4 times a game, maybe 5 at the most. I'm very disappointed, especially from a leadership standpoint. Antonio Brown is a great, great leader, one of the hardest working Pittsburgh Steelers ever, right up there with Rocky Bleier and James Harrison in terms of work ethic. But what kind of example are you setting for the best player on the team, Le'Veon Bell? Le'Veon Bell is the best player on the team, and he's only making $800,000 a year. And he's locked into that contract for the next 2 seasons because of the new rookie salary cap where teams can't negotiate with that player for 4 years, after their rookie season. So in my opinion, as much as I love AB, if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would trade him right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers have been very, very successful. They've never had a player quite like him since Lynn Swann and John Stallworth. But the Steelers have always done a good job of acquiring wide receivers, and I would trade Antonio Brown if I was the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. Appreciate it. Chip the Prophet Hainer, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan. Good evening, everybody. Now, everybody knows about my passion for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And last night, a pretty disturbing incident happened at the ball game. A woman was coming down to her seats, and she had her back to the plate, and a ball was fouled off by the batter, and it went through the mesh and cracked her right in the back of the skull. And it was a pretty serious event. It actually stopped the game for 23 minutes, and she had to be carted out on a stretcher. And the good news about the whole situation is she was released from the hospital today, and apparently she's going to be okay. But that brings me to my point of what's on my mind this evening is being a passionate Pittsburgh Pirate fan. I go down to the ball games. I go down to the ball games to actually watch the ball game. And, we've got a whole new generation of Pittsburgh Pirate baseball fans that come down to the baseball games. And one of the things about when you go into a baseball stadium, you're accepting the responsibility that there could be round objects sent your direction at high speeds, and so you really need to, no matter where you sit in the ballpark, is pay attention. Now, I feel sorry for the woman that got hit in the head, and I'm glad to hear that she's all right. But part of the problem would be is that here you've got the pitcher winding up, pitching to a batter in the batter's box. Why is this person walking down the aisle to their seat? Why do they have their back to the play? That's not very smart, if you ask me, because look what happened. I think what the ushers at PNC Park and the Pittsburgh Pirates should start instituting at games is do like they do at Penguin games with the ushers there. When play is involved, you're not allowed to walk up and down the aisles. They hold you at the top of the steps.
That's
They
not
let
how
you.
Not
it
all
is,
the
Chip.
time,
That's
Chip.
not how it is, Chip. Because
Yeah.
I've been to a couple Buckle games where they wouldn't let me go down until there
Well,
was a
Zach,
break.
I am here to tell you, every game that I have been at, I am constantly seeing people get up in the middle of the, a 3-2 count. Pitcher's in his windup. People get up and walk around. They're sitting there talking to people, not watching the game, and it's because
So you
the
can't-
ushers. May I finish?
We can debate that.
Yeah, the people are not paying attention to the game, and the ushers have got to stop people from doing this because people are going to get hurt, and the safety of the fans, is at risk. But that's what's on my mind.
Jeez, that went so much longer for that interruption. My God.
You know what? We're all entitled to our opinions, and we can talk about buckos and everything else. But you got me on a theme here because we have a lot of people that say they like sports, and then the problem is, I've been to Penguin games, I've been to Pirate games. There's people not paying attention to the action. They're waiting for the fireworks, they're waiting for the concert, or they're looking at their smartphones trying to interact with winning some prize or whatever else it is. And the ushers can't control it all. That's part of the problem. So, I mean, we have a lot of new fans and a lot of disgruntled fans that have been there for Pirates and even Penguins. But what I look at is the optimistic part about it, that at least we have major league teams that are competing, that have been in the playoffs. Maybe not to the level we want, and that's sad in a sense, but we'll see changes for sure in whatever sport happens here. So that's what's on my mind. I had to combine a little with Chip because I was shocked that the lady had her back turned when that happened. So
The thing that was even more disturbing, if you watch the video again, is the usher standing 3 feet to her right had his back turned too at the same time.
I didn't hear anything about it. I'm glad you.
yeah,
So
but
to get a clarification from the Pirate squad to the right about going to PNC Park, like I said, there's nothing that the ushers can really do to prevent somebody from getting out of their seat during the middle of a windup or the middle of the inning.
No,
but what
they
they
cannot.
do is they stop you from going during the inning from coming down from up above. So I know that to be true for a fact,
That
as
does
much
not
as they
happen,
can.
Zach, and you haven't been to enough Pirate games to even comment on that.
the one you went to and they stopped you, maybe that was just it.
Well,
I don't
good for
know.
me is I got a smartphone and I got money chips. So just because of you, I'm going to go to a Pirate game and I'm going to videotape this phenomenon in person so that you can see it and run it back to you. Maybe not in your section because you're so far up, almost to the top of the city. But for those down below, I think they stop you and they don't let you go down. But
Wow.
we'll
Well-
continue on with the show.
Thanks. I appreciate you guys letting us go on with sports talk for these people. And again, we're all entitled to our own opinions, and why can't we all get along or agree to disagree? And I'd rather move forward on it because what you see at different games and all that, I've seen many different things that I thought couldn't happen, and they do, and I've seen them try to play by the rules, and who knows what happens then. But if people want to get away with something, they're going to try to get away with it, good or bad. And it's a shame somebody did get hurt, and this isn't the first time. Bats do get slipped out of the hands and hit people too, so that's another object you got to watch for. So
I
there's a
just
lot of
can't believe
things
that
that happen.
it's not a more solid cage behind there so that there's not as much give when a pitcher's throwing a ball 100 plus miles an hour into this net that it shouldn't be able to recoil that far back to the point where it'll hit a lady almost at full force in the head. But
Well, I tell you what, even the game that Chip got us tickets to last year, I noticed there was several people sitting that was reading a book and reading newspapers while the game was going on. And some of those foul pitchers was coming back, and especially in the area we're sitting. I was surprised. I was
Well, that
shocked
was
to
a
see
nice
that.
area, low
I
level.
don't.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand why people would put themselves at risk like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
It amazes
And
me.
it all goes back to the 13-year-old girl celebrating her birthday in Columbus, Ohio. Got hit with a puck and killed at a hockey game. So you got to be aware
Well, you're at a sporting event.
Because the lady's lucky she's not dead. You get hit in the
Well, I
head
know
with a
at
ball.
the console, since I go to more Penguin games than I do Pirate games, and obviously more Steeler games than I do Pirates or Penguins, but that's another story. At the Penguin games, they make several announcements on the Jumbotron during the game that you should be aware at all times that a puck can fly into the stands and hit you. You know, so they make several announcements during a Penguin game that you should be aware of your surroundings.
The problem with PNC Park is when they make that announcement at the beginning of the game, the people that are getting up out of their chairs aren't there yet.
Oh, it does happen. All right, let's move on with this part of the show here. And we always do our segments here, and we got Smokin' Jim Frazier. Can we hear some fiction and fact from Smokin' Jim's Almanac?
Yes,
Hopefully
sir.
more fact tonight, because I'm
All
getting tired of
fact,
the
all
fiction
fact.
there. And it
Hey,
better not be 8 and 8's great again, because it's too early in the season for that.
Little Z's voice was all over the internet on that one. But
Well, you know, Dave Cable's also saying, he goes, do you guys have any new material, or are you just going to say the same stuff each week?
a fiction and fact from Smokin' Jim's Almanac. Al Levine,
Right.
the Green, all those things are catchy
No, that's
phrases that
good.
the fans
no,
love.
that stuff's good. What's on your mind? We have a discussion about it. He goes, you guys got to watch that. He's wanted to cancel that a couple times. Luckily, I had to pull the producer card out and just let it roll.
He can do what he wants to, but the people come up to me all the time. They like that little saying. So, and some of the other things that they like about the show. But
Can you post that on Facebook so then I know?
but
Please.
here we go. Fiction and fact with Smokin' Jim's Almanac is, and I must say publicly on TV that Alan Levine, the talking machine, is one of the greatest leaders that I know, but a terrible teacher. So
Let me go back to Aristotle.
I'm just finding out right now that I can post stuff on a site on the Pittsburgh
Hey,
Sports Line that
hey,
you're a minister.
Hey,
that
folks,
you're a minister.
hey, folks, I got to interrupt
on.
this. I want to give a little history lesson.
Oh man!
Aristotle
Turn in
taught.
your teaching
You ever hear of
certificate.
Aristotle?
I'm hearing about him now.
Okay, well, Aristotle was one of your greatest teachers in life in the Greek history. And he had a pupil who became rather famous. But I don't know how many of the other pupils you heard about, because you're only as good as your student.
Oh, good book, touche.
And Alexander the Great was actually one of his students.
Oh, yeah?
Now, you know
okay.
Alexander the Great?
I heard of him.
Okay, just so you know. And that was one of his students.
But hey, we got to
The rest we didn't hear, and I don't care how long it takes to get it. But just so you know, if you want to post something, ask me for the last 3.5 years, and I'll explain it to you.
You couldn't explain it to me. I'm just.
He's the
Because
godfather.
you're not-
He's the
Wow, I was
godfather of
shocked.
Facebook.
Oh, because you will not talk on a phone, and then you go, I can't see it on my smartphone because I'm talking to you. I go, do you have a computer? Yeah, but I'm not home. I go, when you post something on my page, post it on the other pages the same way.
We're sold you're a terrible teacher, brother.
That's only your opinion. I just
But you're a
taught.
great leader.
I
That's it.
I don't
Great
care
leader,
about the
bad
leader.
teacher.
I just taught 2 more people how to create
I'm
Facebook
gonna give you
event
Chuck Knowles'
pages.
book.
I have it and read it. It's not going to work, buddy.
You're Vince Lombardi, brother. You're a great leader.
Thanks,
terrible
buddy.
teacher.
Thank you. And thanks for finally posting
Power
something on
sweep,
there.
power sweep right, power sweep left. But I was proud of myself. It's something I didn't know I could do. But anyhow,
And if you would have said something before the show instead of on air, we wouldn't be having a great debate. But thank you very much. Fiction and fact from Smokin' Jim's
I
Almanac.
know you don't like to give up, brother.
I'm done.
But here we go.
Thank you, though.
Back to 2010 NFL draft is the year the Pittsburgh Steelers selected Antonio Brown, who, like I said, in my opinion, shouldn't be part of the team next year. I would trade him for a first-round draft pick. And that year, the Pittsburgh Steelers was really not in the market for a receiver. They traded Santonio Holmes for a 5th-round draft pick and brought in Antoine Randall, former Steeler, the field they're built, they only had a roster spot for one receiver. And I kept telling the Pittsburgh Steelers, I like this kid they never heard of named Antonio Brown. But in the first round, they took Marquise Pouncey. They took Jason Worlds, the Jehovah's Witness. And in the third round, they took Emmanuel Sanders, which upset me highly. Fourth round, they took a bum named Thaddeus Gibson out of Ohio State. Fifth round, they had 3 picks. They took a bum, Chris Scott. They took Butler, and they took another bum, Stevenson Sylvester. And in the 6th round, the first pick, they took Jonathan Dwyer. And they told me the only reason that they're taking Antonio Brown with the 2nd pick and 9th overall pick in the 6th round was the 1 to shut me up and 2 that they was going to cut him. And in the 7th round, they took another bum by the name of Doug Worthington. And I call these guys bums because bum is actually a noun, a person, place, or a thing. And it could be attributed to most of the Steeler draft picks. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoke and Jim. I learned 2 things. I'm a great leader, can't teach. But I did learn from a guy who's not a teacher, who can't learn, that a bum is a noun. There are miracles, folks. Stay in school and don't follow Smoke and Jim's lead. It's amazing. All right, we need some of Chip's trivia time right now.
All right, I can work on that. But hey, Jim, did you see last week I gave a shout out to you? I already gave you a grade for the Steelers draft this year. I've already given them a D-. I'm sure they're going to live up to your expectations. All right, so we're going to start the night off with a couple of little old pieces of baseball trivia. And then being that, the Penguins won't be playing at this time next week, I got some Penguins trivia for you this week as well. It took 737 games before the Los Angeles Dodgers, formerly Brooklyn Dodgers, to have their very first rainout once they moved to L.A. Wow. It happened on April 21st, 1967. 737 consecutive home games without a rainout. Next, I got here a record that was set on April the 21st, 1994. Eddie Murray set a major league record with his 11th switch hit home run game against the Cleveland Indians. That's hitting a home run from both sides of the plate for those of us that don't follow baseball. So he did it record 11th time, 1994. So let's get to my Penguins trivia. The Penguins, they showed up Saturday night. And, once again, they fall behind early, and then they don't start playing hockey until 40 minutes into the game, and it just was too little too late. But the most games played as a Penguin, I found this the answer to this question kind of interesting. I will go from number 4 to number 1. Number 4 is Rick Kehoe, played 722 games for the Penguins. Jaromir Jagr played 725 games for the Penguins. Wow. Mario Lemieux, number 2, with 745 games. And the most games played by a Penguins player, a star of the Penguins in the late 70s, Jean Pronovost. So if you look at this Penguins statistics through their history, the most goals, assists, and points, obviously, goals and assists and points go to Mario Lemieux. Number 2 is Jaromir Jagr. But the third player on that list, once again, is Jean Pronovost. Little-known player. I do recall him quite well because a girl in my math class in 10th grade used to wear his jersey, and she absolutely just drooled all over him. Third in assists, okay, because we know that Lemieux and Jagr were number 1 and number 2. Ronnie Francis, the general manager of the Carolina Hurricane. The number 3 in career points was a former winger, Rick Kehoe, former coach of the Pittsburgh Penguins. And here's a little teaser out here. We'll see if any of you guys might be able to guess this one. Does anybody know who the 1983 first-round draft pick was of the Pittsburgh Penguins?
1983.
Nope.
That was the year before Lemieux was drafted. Bob Airy was the first pick. I thought I'd get somebody biting on that saying it was Mario. And it was back in 1980 that the Penguins switched from the blue and white to the black and gold to match the other successful teams in the city at that time. The Pirates were defending World Series champions, and the Steelers were Super Bowl champions. So they figured, why not? The Penguins hadn't won much since then. Before that,
jump on the bandwagon.
and it took them a while before they won anything. It was another 10 years, but they did. They did win the lottery to pick Lemieux, almost like the Buffalo Sabres, who fought hard to have the worst record in the league this year and still didn't get the number 1 pick in the draft that went to the Edmonton Oilers this year. But they're getting number 2, so they could say we're number 2.
That'll help.
Yeah, it'll help, but not much.
Nah.
But that's my trivia for this week.
Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it. Let's see what we got on Z time here. Zach Brenner.
Well, after carefully taking in what Smoking Jim stated on what's on his mind, and then he followed up with on Fiction and Fact, I will kindly just say this. Antonio Brown, besides Big Ben, is probably the best Pittsburgh Steeler to be drafted under the 4th round, I would say, in, 15, 20 years. The guy is one of the best players in the league. You don't find too many number 1 premier wide receivers, Smoking Jim, that are still returning punts like Antonio Brown is. So my only problem is that whenever I take a job on and I sign off on it, if it takes me longer, I only get what I signed off on no matter what. So Antonio Brown, you already got the bump up that you're going to get. Honor it, and if you continue to produce like you've been producing, you're going to get it anyways. Big Ben got it. It's just, so everybody wants to trash the Rooneys, but I think the Rooneys have been real wise and real smart sometimes with who they give the money to and who they let go. Right now, with the way that I've seen trading and such going, I don't really think that you can get a first-round pick for Antonio Brown. LaShawn McCoy was traded from Philadelphia to Buffalo, and that first-round pick wasn't involved, and I felt like, man, they got a hurt linebacker with a bad knee and a low draft pick, and you got LaShawn McCoy, one of the most explosive backs in the league, a scat back that's dangerous, 2 ways. He could catch the ball or he could run it. So, I just think the Steelers need to stay put. Make Antonio Brown honor his contract. Now, if his play declines this year and he has a bad attitude and you see it on the field because he's pouting or whining because he's not getting the money, now you look at Smoking Jim like, you got rid of Santonio Holmes for a 5th-round pick, and he won the Super Bowl with a catch in the corner. So, loyalty is limited in this league. I think Antonio Brown needs to count his blessings. The next time you see me and Devin Shea in the hallway at Bethel Park, brother, take the interview. Wink, wink.
Well, just to kind of speak to the point about Antonio Brown,
Almost everybody has. Go ahead, Chip.
Here's what the thing is. The last 3 years of Antonio Brown's contract are not guaranteed. Okay, so he's actually guaranteed no money. I mean, the Steelers could cut him right now, and he would not be owed another dime. Now, the players are upset because that's a fact. Now, who should they be upset with? The owners? No, I don't think they should be upset with the owners because the owners are smart businessmen. How do you think they became owners? Who the players should be upset with is their union, because their union is the one that collectively bargained the fact that they don't get guaranteed contracts. Look what the baseball players union has done for them. These guys get guaranteed contracts, whether they play or sit, they're going to get paid anyhow. So the football players are kind of forced in their hand to have to go this route. I don't agree with it. You signed a contract, you should pay for what you agreed to play for. But, there's a system in place that they can do this, but, none of their money is guaranteed, and that's where the crux of the problem was.
Football's a combat sport, not to take me out to the ball game picnic like baseball, so you can't guarantee nothing.
And isn't that the truth, man? Because you can play baseball 20 years and still spell your name.
And let the great debate continue. The Sandbox boys are happy. I'm neutral on the subject because I also agree if you sign a contract, you should honor the contract. If your CBA didn't get you everything you want, hence the CBA is a compromise between management and unions and anybody else.
Al Levine, the talking machine. The only problem I got, I'm I'm pro players, like you said, Chip. It's not guaranteed. The problem I have with Antonio Brown is the Pittsburgh Steelers went over and above when they signed him. You're talking about they could have made him still play for 4 years at.
Well, how can you say there's cheap then?
Well, they usually are. I mentioned the
Okay,
4
'cause-
guys they weren't cheap on,
Right, but that's
there's
only-
800 others they were, all the way back to Mike Merriweather and all these guys that they promised. How about James Harrison that had to take a pay cut when he was still the best player in the league? So the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Rooneys have always been cheap, but there's been exceptions to the rule, and so I give them credit for that, and that's why I'm so disappointed in Drew Rosenhaus and Antonio Brown, because the Pittsburgh Steelers did something that they don't do for anybody, and the main reason that they did it was to stick a fork in the back of Mike Wallace, and number 2 is because Antonio Brown worked so hard. He was just such an exceptional player that they ripped up his contract when they didn't have to after 2 years and gave him $43 million, which was unheard of money at that particular time. So I got to give them credit when credit is
between
due.
being cheap and being shrewd businessmen.
No,
Because
they're
like
cheap. They're cheap, just like the suits they wear.
Well,
They're
they
cheap.
still give you a steak every draft.
I love it. Thanks goodness to the black cooks that I can eat it, because if it was anybody else,
I don't know
I'd
how
be
you're
scared
even
it was
staying there.
poison.
How you gonna make it this year? You're even worse than ever before. Did the Rooneys give you a new Apple phone? Because I don't see your phone with it.
It's plugged in over there.
Jim, and I understand the reason why you're, and I'm kind of upset with Antonio Brown, but Drew Rosenhaus is probably one of the sleaziest agents out there,
True.
and the only thing that he's
Show me the money.
loyal to is the dollar, and if Antonio Brown isn't bright enough to see that this guy is going to suck him dry, I mean. It's a damn shame, because, he should show some loyalty to the Steelers, but he won't, because this is professional sports and this is the way they are.
Well, Machine and Chip, the thing is, what I don't like about ball players
What are you lumping me
who
in?
forget
I have no opinion.
I don't like players who forget where they come from. Antonio Brown has had a heck of a story made for Hollywood. This is a guy that was homeless after his sophomore year in high school because his mom moved in a boyfriend, and he put him out because he says this house can only have one man in it. He walked on to college, played 3 years, the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't even expect him to make the team. I remember him saying, "I'm just happy to be in the NFL." And when he signed that contract after 2 years, Drew Rosenhaus, who was his agent at the time, even said at that time it was a great contract. It was a great contract. Now that he's outplayed that contract, he's still making $8 million.
Yeah.
He's going to make $8 million the next 3 years. I just don't understand how in the world that you would come back. And he's still going to be young enough to get a big deal in 3 years. And it's probably 2 years the Steelers will probably redo his deal.
Usually what the Steelers' policy has been is they'll begin the negotiations with 2 years left on the contract. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because, he can't even be fined for not showing up for the spring practices. The only thing that he could be fined for is missing the mandatory OT, organized team activities that happen in May. And then, of course, they could start fining them in training camp. But, these voluntary workouts now, they're both a lot of strength and conditioning stuff, which I'm sure he probably does on his own. They can't even, fine him for missing.
Hence the CBA. See, it gave them an advantage. Now they can poke the tiger and say, I want more money. But no, I'm not unhappy. I'm just not going to show up.
What happens, Levine, if Antonio Brown decides, with the guidance of the legend Drew Rosenhaus, who I love Drew Rosenhaus.
Of
That's
course.
how you have to
Of
be.
course you do,
That's how
except
have
if
to
you
be.
were paying them.
Hey, that's America. I didn't create, don't hate the player, hate the game. But see,
Why not?
Levine, you interrupted me, lost my train of thought.
That's what I tried to do.
Thank you.
Sorry. But you were happy that you could do that.
No, like I was saying, if Antonio Brown decided that I'm not going to play a down of football
Yeah.
in the 2015 campaign, what can the Steelers really do? Is there anything other than fine him
Not pay him.
Is there? Can they force him to
not
play?
get paid, and he can't sign with anybody else.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play this year, Here's the thing that happens in the NFL contract is if you don't play, if you sit out for 2 years, when you come back, guess what? Your rights still remain with that team, and you still got 3 years left whenever you come back.
Exactly.
So you're not, like you said, this is not baseball, it's not basketball, it's not, I don't know what the hockey contract's like, but in football, the ownership, you know, they hold
strong.
they hold the cards.
And,
yeah,
and,
they're
I'll
strong.
tell you the thing about football, and you know, because
Tell
you some things about football. The thing is about football is I've never seen a guy take off 2 years of football and come back and be a decisive player.
Unless
Because
you're Tim Tebow.
We'll find out. This is what we call some random conversations here.
Michael Vick did it.
no, but you know what I'm saying is you know.
Aaron Hernandez would have done it.
Well, I hear you know what I heard Roger Goodell did? As soon as Aaron Hernandez was convicted of first-degree murder, he suspended him for 3 games.
And then when I heard that, it was reduced to 1 game.
That's a sad state of
He waited for the
sports.
conviction.
But in all seriousness, Moody Jim, right now there's some marquee free agents still out there. Ray Rice being one of them. Do you think that there's an NFL team that's going to bring in Ray Rice?
No.
Hey, Humphrey Bogart used to slap women all the time in the movies, but hey, he married the girl. He apologized. What more can he do? He made one mistake. He went to counseling. He's wrong. You should never strike a woman. Al Levine, the talking machine, said that over and over again. But now they're not only punishing Ray Rice, they're punishing his wife who stayed with him because that's taking money and food away from her and her baby.
I just look at it like this. If I owned a team, would I want that negative publicity around my team? The answer to that question would be
He
no.
What
made
about on the
one
field, though?
mistake.
What about on the field,
I
though?
have a right to choose whoever
What
I
about
want
on
to
the-
have play for me.
What about on the field, though? Do you think that like Ray Rice still has? If Tim Tebow, after 2 years of inactivity, gets signed by the Philadelphia Eagles, why can't Ray Rice get signed?
Yeah, and it's only been 1 year.
It's
man.
only been 1 year, and he's a running back
And
too.
he's a married man.
It's getting too crazy. Let me do on location. First, Jay Hay hit a home run, tied the game up. How's that?
Nice.
So it's
Go
1-1.
Cubs.
Well, I was told before that haters will hate, and they just do it in different ways. So if you're laughing about it and still hate, it's still hating. So you guys can figure it out on Facebook or anywhere else. That's still hate. But they're hilarious, so we'll put up with it. Glad you appreciate it all. On location, we had a great time at Village Tavern and Trattoria. We'll be back there on May 26th for another show. So check us out on location. That's our Jazz and Sports. You got Jessica Lee and Mark Strickland doing 2 hours of dinner and jazz. Then you got Pittsburgh Sports Line coming in at 8 o'clock till 9, doing a 1 hour show of our regular show with guests. So
Food's
come
great.
on out. Good
Great
food, good atmosphere.
I'll be there tomorrow for lunch.
Well, we can't wait. I'm already going to get a reservation so I can sneak in the back booth to see who you bring there that's all for Pittsburgh Sports Line. Because I can't wait to see who this next woman is that's helping not to promote Pittsburgh Sports Line. But hopefully you'll teach me how they are. Because any publicity is good publicity, even if they don't say Pittsburgh Sports
You'll
Line.
never get hired as a teacher.
Matter of fact, I just got hired today to show a couple people about Facebook. And guess what? These two people, they did exactly what I said that I've told you for 3 years. And they put their own page up. They're actually putting stuff on other people's.
Great leader.
And they invited people. How did that happen?
Awesome leader.
No, how did that happen, my friend? How could they learn that? And this will continue for the rest of our lives, just so you know. I've only just begun. We'll be at Duke's Rib House and Grill on Monday. Check that out. Smoking Jim got a whole team that come in. I'm not even telling you who they are because you'll see it's all about Pittsburgh Sports Line on Facebook. I guarantee it. And we'll be on location in a couple other places. So, thank you for that. We appreciate you coming out. And we'll see you in the new location of the Royal Place. Just had a nice talk with the owner on Saturday night. So
Speaking of
we'll be
Saturday
there.
night in the
It's
Royal
now 2
Place.
to 1.
Okay. What's that?
Speaking of Saturday night in the Royal Place, are we able to talk about the Golden Gloves finales
I don't know. Is that a boxing segment, or are we just we'll just talk like we're in the living room here. Hey, how are you folks doing tonight? You want to call in 412-831-3304 because it's just a comedy show tonight. Go ahead. I'll listen.
Well, if it's a comedy show you want, then it's a comedy show you're going to get. There was a lot of good fights on Saturday night at the Royal Place, as Smoking Jim and Al Levine could allude to. We were fortunate enough to do a broadcast and get the fights broadcast. But before the broadcast, there were some inductions into the Golden Gloves Hall of Fame that I think that we should make note of. And one of them being Sammy Vasquez, who's a huge fan of the show, and he's an undefeated professional boxer. And there was a doctor and a boxer named Maggio that were also inducted. Dr. Chambers and Mike Maggio from Erie were also inducted. 3 inductees this year to the Golden Gloves Hall of Fame, and then the boxing followed it afterwards. And I tell you what, we're gonna have his best shot as ever.
Oh, this will be interesting.
This is gonna be great.
Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
Calling. What kind of horses are you going to pick for the upcoming Kentucky Derby? I think it's next weekend.
You say Stan the Man or Sam the Man?
Sam the Man.
Sam the Man, I don't really know yet because I'm studying it. There's a couple young horses, but I don't want to really put it out there because it's too early to tell you. We only got till the first week of May, so I still got to do some studying, my friend. Who do you like?
I don't know. I haven't even seen the lineup yet. And,
well, check out Santa Anita, the Florida Derby, and a couple of these other ones, the Arkansas Derby. Start studying a little bit, and you'll figure it out. You're a smart man, Sam the Man.
Okay, thanks a million, Al. Take care. It's a good show.
Appreciate the call, especially from this long distance call. Rarely do we have a caller call from as far away as you are, sir.
Take care. See you later.
Thank you.
Man, Matt Harkins has a laugh only a mother could love.
What do you mean? He's a longtime Bethel Park resident. Matt No-Show Harkins. He's world renowned.
Good work with Go Passion.
Speaking of the Passion, since we're just freewheeling it here, Passion won another game, 55-8. They've now scored 121 points in 2 games. Imagine that. They've only allowed 8 points. What a defense. Smoking Jim, why aren't we at those games?
Well, the head coach for the Pittsburgh Passion's getting good karma because he came on our show. And plus, last year you predicted that the Pittsburgh Passion will win a world championship.
And the repeat.
Looks like they're going to repeat this year.
Who said it first?
Will they repeat undefeated? That would be quite a feat.
Yeah.
Whoa.
You know, because last year
Somebody got to score 60 to beat them.
They're going to have to do something. Is Lisa Horton still quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah.
For them? She is an amazing athlete.
Came out of retirement.
And she drives here for the games and practices. From D.C., the D.C. area.
I tell you what,
That's dedication.
I'm telling you what, she runs all over that field. She's probably the best quarterback I've seen since like maybe Tim Tebow.
No,
I know he couldn't win.
is that cynical? Is there some cynicism there? Like, because Tim Tebow is not that good of a quarterback.
What do you mean?
so?
No.
He won 2 national championships and a Heisman Trophy in college.
That means nothing. I could name you a bunch of guys that won the national
And he
championship.
passed for 316 yards against the Steelers in the playoffs and set a record that will never be broken. He averaged 30 yards.
How much?
30 yards of completion.
Because he only completed 10 of his 30 passes.
But they was bombs, bro.
And that's because that's more of a tribute to our terrible secondary than it is to
We
his
had the
arm as
number
a
1
quarterback.
defense in football
Not
that
secondary.
year.
Not
man.
secondary.
Troy Polamalu was in the secondary.
But he was playing linebacker.
Ike Taylor was in the secondary.
He was too slow and he dropped every pass that come his way.
Stone. So now that Troy retired and Ike retired.
And how many passes in front of Gay? Pass in front of Gay. Did they say that all game? Yes. Did they run for yards after the catch? A lot of yak. You can distort the truth however you want it. This is mostly opinions. I hate to see facts get in the way of anybody on the show because the opinions are much more fun. So let's go back to that boxing. it was a great honor to actually be there and film that. We'll have that up with the Hall of Fame dinner, to have guys like Sammy Vasquez, Dr. Chambers, and Mighty Mike Maggio to be there. It's just fantastic to meet these guys, and we already know Sammy and have seen how he grew up here. And his daughter did something surprising. Little Savina, who was a guest on our show, our youngest guest, she come over to me. She didn't want to talk this time because she first started talking, as her dad, Big Sam, said on our show. She come up and was watching the fights, and the look she had looking at the fighters was just unbelievable. She wouldn't leave for about one whole fight, so she stayed 3 rounds for it. So that was impressive. And there was a lot of great boxing. We're going to have a lot of boxers going to Philadelphia, and we wish them well.
And it wasn't a night that didn't go with controversy. Obviously, there was some questionable decisions.
As always.
There was some problems in the crowd. We know who was the guy that was at the forefront in the ruckus.
Just pat yourself on the back with both hands, not one hand. Was Zach Brenner there going to try to put out a forest fire? How'd it work out?
Pretty good.
If you need security, call Brenner Contracting. He looks good in that new Pittsburgh Sportsline golf baseball hat. Look at that.
On sale now.
Yep. Contact Brenner Contracting.
Or
Give me your
Al
number.
Levine with that new sleek card.
Thanks. What's that have to? It's still the same numbers and all that. Does anybody want to talk any other teams or sports?
Well, right now, Pirates have got in a little bit of a battle with the Cubs. Marte's hit his 4th home run in 5th game. He started out the season kind of slow, striking out a bunch. They sat him down for a day, had him regroup, and he's been tearing the cover off the ball the last few games.
He started with 2 3-run homers.
I love 3-run homers, by the way.
Yeah, they're nice ones.
But Jay hit his 2nd leadoff homer of the season, okay? And the Pirates only had 2 all year last year, over 162 games. 2 leadoff homers also hit by Jay Hay. I think
Chip might be right in his World Series prediction.
What's the
what's the
Pirates record?
Pirates record? They're 6-7 after last night, and they've got 3 more against the Cubs tonight, tomorrow, Thursday afternoon, and then we take a little swing out to Arizona. But right
5
now,
wins against Milwaukee, huh?
hey, you know what? And Milwaukee happens to be the worst team in baseball
We only
right
play
now.
them 13 more times, so that's it,
2-11
Smoking Jim.
record. But I tell you something.
Great point.
Milwaukee was a team that we couldn't beat for our life last year. They seemed to sweep us, take 2 out of 3 all the time. But right now, the Pirates pitching staff is just pitching incredibly. Liriano and Burnett have been solid, and they haven't gotten any run support. Garrett Cole's 2-0. Jeff Locke is 2-0. I watched Locke throw a gem on Saturday night. He pitched 8 innings. I was happy to see, one of the Pirates' new relief pitchers. He throws 100 miles an hour. Comes in the defense of Andrew McCutchen. Once again, in the 8th inning, they hit McCutchen and up in the shoulders. So, then Locke pitched the bottom of the 8th, and in the bottom of the 9th, first batter up, Ryan Braun, he fired back and nailed him right in the knee. And
Anybody on juice?
It's part of the game.
It's for
It's
Juicy
part of the
J.
game. If they're going to hit our star, we're going to hit their star, and it's good to see
He's
that,
against it, but he likes
that's
it.
happening now.
Well,
Because you got to
I always
stand up to your
felt
star
you should
players.
do it, but you should pick your time to do it. And they've waited so long before not done it. Why not do it instantly?
Well, here's what they did. They did it in the 9th inning, so that the first batter in the 9th inning, both benches were warned at that point, so nobody gets ejected. And then Sermon Aaron, pitched out the rest of the inning. We won the game 5-2, and we sent the Brewers home. He picked his time, wasn't putting the game at any risk, and
Good message.
and if he gets thrown out in the 9th inning when the score was 5-1,
Did all 11,000 fans enjoy it?
11,000, right? Right now, the
228.
Pirates have been averaging close to 31,000
They
fans
had
per game
11,000 last night.
on Monday night. Okay, they had a sellout crowd on Sunday, a sellout crowd on Saturday, a sellout crowd on Friday night. So what are you trying to tell
I'm
me,
super
Jim?
impressed
Do
that
the
Smoking
math.
Jim knows that there was only the attendance of the Pirates.
Well, he learned to look for the
Wait.
negative.
There was
'Cause he's a
tornado.
baseball
There was
fan and he's sitting
tornado
in the
warnings
sandbox.
and thunderstorms. Okay, and three rain delays, and you're gonna complain about there only being 11,000 people there.
He's not complaining. He's just pointing out why he doesn't like baseball.
Now, to the
There's not enough people there.
No, you know what? You want to talk about crowds?
Actually, it was
I wanna-
calling us to come back to bring
Here's
people
what
to
you
the
want
park.
to you want to talk about crowds. Penn State on Saturday played their blue and white game.
Yeah.
68,000 people showed up there. Ohio State University, 99,139, and Pitt. I'll tell you what. What's his name? DiNardo.
Yeah.
He is doing it right because there was a lot of buzz about the crowd they had down at Highmark Stadium. They brought in over 50 Pitt Panther alum.
What was the
And some
crowd? I
great-
missed it.
I didn't hear the numbers.
Me neither.
You know, but I mean, here's what he's doing. He's getting enthusiasm about the Pitt football program. They brought in Curtis Martin, LaShawn McCoy, Larry Fitzgerald.
I saw.
You know, Aaron Donald was back. You know, so they're bringing back these players and showing these kids that, you know what, you can make it to the big show from here. And I think that's creating a buzz for the team that is going to pay dividends this fall because I guarantee you,
that's not
you're going to
going
see
before.
bigger crowds.
That's not
You're going to
going.
see bigger crowds.
I
They ain't
hope
selling
more than
out.
the 4,000 that came to
Real
the spring.
quickly, can I lament for something real quick to the baseball goal?
Lament away. Lament
how
away.
frustrating, Chip, has it been to watch A.J. Burnett pitch well and get 0 run support so far this season?
Get used to it.
Well, no, here's what, Zach, it's not frustrating at all because a lot of people said signing A.J. Burnett was a mistake. A.J. Burnett's a quality veteran pitcher, and he's an innings eater, and he's going to do the job for you. You know what? Everything will work itself out. You don't, 2 weeks into the season,
Has Watson settled down?
yes, he has. And Watson's probably the best left-handed reliever in the National League.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, folks.
I don't know what you two got on.
I'm just,
What are you guys doing there?
Just trying to
Everything's
get-
humorous. In the
trying to get some
sandbox.
information on Watson.
Well, he gave you a serious answer. You
Well,
got to
yeah.
talk to your sandbox buddy there.
But I tell you what, I mean, you can't expect, as you guys are well aware, that Pitt's not going to draw the likes of what Penn State's pulling in for their spring game or what Ohio State's pulling in. But I'm happy that they actually had a spring game this year because they didn't have one
Good
last
point,
year, and
Chip.
I just was in total disbelief how you could just take that away from the little small fan base that you do have. So.
Well, I tell you the one thing that I really disliked about the Pitt program the last 3 years is like listening to Paul Christ in an interview after the game was like watching paint dry. And I'm wondering what's going to happen at Wisconsin now. Like, is he magically going to become this great football coach and full of good
No.
one-liners? He's going to destroy that program. And Barry Alvarez is buddy because,
He may have a lot of good
He's going to have a
support.
couple years before he destroys that program because Wisconsin.
I don't know the way he called games. The way he called games, I don't know, man.
We'll have to
It was
find out
tough.
on that one.
It was painful. They're going to find out. They're
Yeah,
gonna
but they
find
said
out.
the players loved him. He was a great players coach, and they
Really?
liked playing for him. Yeah,
And
Then why didn't they?
surprisingly.
they didn't have talent.
Hey,
Oh,
surprisingly, stayed out of
love
trouble,
playing
though,
for him.
too.
6-6
And
doesn't
that's
sound
the
like
important thing.
much
Lack
love.
of talent. What's that, Zach?
I said the Pitt football program, they've stayed out of trouble, though, for the most part. And that was a big thing with Wannstedt. It kind of got away from them, and the kids were getting out of trouble. The third-string safety is down the south side. They peeing on the sidewalk telling people, he plays for Pitt or whatever. You can't arrest me. So this thing's got a little bit out of hand there in Oakland. So it seems like Chris brought a little bit of stability back, and hopefully, the Michigan State product that came in now, the head coach is going to take it over the top now.
Well, I wish Pitt well.
He has some nice
Definitely.
pieces. I mean, he has a solid running back coming back. He has a solid wide receiver. Wojciech is in his second season as a starter. So, and he's a defensive coach. So, and I'm just looking forward to a little bit better of a defense because our Achilles heel last season was the defense was
Couldn't hold a
absolutely
lead.
yeah. It didn't matter how many points. It was a 30-point lead to Houston, and they still
Wasn't
blew
enough.
it.
Well, what he did with the defense and what he's doing with the defense is he simplified the defense. Instead of having 5 or 6 options on every play, the guys are just lining up and playing ball. And let them use their natural athletic ability and their skills and their knowledge of the game, and let them play ball. And I think if you're thinking out there, you're thinking while
reacting.
somebody's running right
Yeah,
past
his
you.
defense looked real good in the bowl game against Baylor when they scored 60.
Is any college football team not giving up 60
Yeah.
in the last 5 years?
At least he simplified it.
Maybe Alabama,
And not to make excuses for Michigan State, but I mean Bryce Petty is going to be one of the top 5 quarterbacks drafted in this year's upcoming draft. So probably at number 5 from Baylor, Bryce Petty. So
Well, maybe we can get a peek at Smoking Jim's draft picks next week. Should we look for
Well,
that?
you know what?
You
The draft will be interesting because so far, I think there's no less than 13 or 14 teams that are interested in Marcus Mariota. And I understand that the Tampa Bay Bucks are listening to offers for the first pick in the draft because I guess they're not sold on Jameis Winston being the best quarterback in the draft. So
Did they see something when they were spying on him on the airplane?
I have no idea. Maybe they saw him grabbing some crab legs on.
I'm not gonna have more speculation than need be, but my sources and what I understood
Wow.
that the Buccaneers are fully ready to make Jameson Winston the first overall pick because now the posturing starts to fall into place from there. The Tennessee Titans, which have the second overall pick now, are almost certain that he's going to go to the Buccaneers.
There have been rumors that Phillip Rivers may end up being traded to the
Tennessee.
Tennessee Titans because Ken Wisenhunt, who was on Bill Cowher's staff when they drafted Ben Roethlisberger, they loved Phillip Rivers. Cowher did, and Wisenhunt loved him.
You've listened to Smoking Jim.
Well, it's
sunk in.
Hey, it's some of the fact that Jim shared with us. You know,
How do you find it?
how do you find? You have to sift through the wheat to get to the chaff.
Okay. Explain the chaff. No, don't explain the chaff. Thank you. We're going to be closing this out. Zach, any last words here that you have, or last word?
I'm just looking forward to on May 2nd, Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Money Mayweather finally get it on in one of the biggest prize fighter fights in the last decade that I could remember, going back to Lennox Lewis days. And I'm excited for May 16th to get down to the Meadows and to get some pro boxing back here going in the city of Pittsburgh. Lightning Ron Soka is the main event. Jason Bergman is going to be the co-main event. Obviously, we got Al Levine and Smoking Jim Frazier on the microphone.
What
down
about
there, so-
Rayco War Saunders?
Rayco's fighting Tommy Carpensy, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a good night of boxing. It always is whenever Pittsburgh Sports Line's on the scene.
Definitely. You'll see Zach in the ring for that fight, doing whatever he does. We'll see what Gary's wearing. It'll be interesting. Smoking Jim, what do you want to say?
Thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Please let the people know what's going on for Saturday.
I thought you wanted to do it since you're back on the MMA bandwagon. King of the Cage at the Meadows will be in the outside cage between the parking lots where we announced the boxing last year. So it should be a packed house there, they said. So it'll be interesting. Thanks to In Your Face, Jamie Chesney, for getting us all of the media passes. Smoking Jim was off board, on board, didn't have plans. He's coming out. We just got to get those arrangements on the ride. Come pick me up on the way out to the Meadows.
I got
Jamie said she'll ride with us.
Oh, now he's definitely in.
Whoa.
Whoa.
They're messaging us like crazy. What happened here? This show's almost over.
John's dad just showed up.
Tied at 2, they said, for the Buccos. All right. We got to end this show. Chip, any last word or
Yeah, I'll
something?
be participating in the March for Babies this Sunday. It's
You
an
should have told us earlier.
It's an event my wife and I have been doing for the last 5 years. It's the March of Dimes' biggest fundraiser of the year. We've been accepting donations. Go to my Facebook page. There's a link there if you would like to donate. But it's something that's near and dear to
We'll
us.
direct you to that. I appreciate it. We're going to have to end the show. Thanks to Dave Cable and everything he does, Bethel Park. Thanks for all the volunteers. Thanks for eating all that pizza. Be safe out there and stay Joey strong.